here's our Midnight Mass Aftershow. We'll talk about each episode. That's our hymn now. Here's your host. Amen. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Horror Movie Talk's special Midnight Mass Aftershow. On a normal episode of Horror Movie Talk, we would be reviewing and discussing one horror film in detail, but for this series of 8 episodes, we'll be having an opinionated and accidentally funny discussion for each episode of Mike Flanagan's The Midnight Mass, or Midnight Mass. I guess there's no the. Your panel of expert hosts each episode is me.
We.
It's Dr. Bryce Hansen, he, him, who holds a PhD in doxology. And across from me sits Professor David Day.
I'm Zimzer. I am also the foremost expert in scare. No-nos.
So without further ado, let's get into the Midnight Mass after show. Let us pray.
Let us, indeed. Hang on.
You're like a big dirty raccoon, David.
Okay, we got to get the squirms out.
Okay. Dear creator, director, and writer Mike Flanagan, please, as we conclude our Midnight Mass after show, help us to understand your intention behind the themes and motifs that have happened throughout Midnight Mass. Please respond to our interview request. Oh, Daddy Flan, and come on and talk to us about this awesome series. Bless us that we won't lead people astray in our sometimes lacking research skills. Forgive us our trespasses, especially for never quite getting all of the character names straight.
We're very stupid, dear Lord.
And these things we pray in the name of Kate Siegel. Amen.
Amen. Mom, Bryce had his eyes open during prayer. How'd you know that unless you had your eyes open?
Shocked Pikachu face.
Oh.
So today we'll be talking about Book VII, Revelation.
Ooh, Revelation's the best book.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar, if you're not a Bible reader or never have been, you just skip straight to the end. That's the best one.
That's where all the crazy shit happens.
Huh,
and
it's so bonkers. Like Lord of the Rings. People are like, oh, Lord of the Rings is the first fantasy. No. No. Revelations, bitch.
Yeah. And people interpret it many different ways, but probably not the way it was intended, which was like very specifically about the time that it was written, I think. Yeah. But anyways, in this, the conclusion to Midnight Mass, the finale.
What a spicy one.
We see the resulting chaos of what happened in the church Easter night and continues on that night. Lines are drawn and between the turned and unturned, and Bev self-righteously appoints herself as the leader to guide the islanders where they should go.
Yeah.
While continuing the heavy violence from the previous episode's finale, this final book takes a hard turn into the metaphysical as many characters confront their life choices and their impending death.
Man, this one.
I'm not crying, you're crying. This is the second time I watched it, and I was in tears for pretty long stretches.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what about it, but it's like, it really hit me. Especially Aaron's speech. We'll get to it.
I'm trying.
I mean, I guess it's an after show. There's no such thing as a spoiler section since you should all have watched this already.
I can't say
it's when she's talking to basically Riley in her mind, and he's asking her like what she thinks of death as she's dying.
Oh,
basically.
yes.
And it's kind of what I feel is Mike Flanagan's thesis on death.
Yeah.
And self and like the meaning of life kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. That was touching.
Yeah.
That was quite touching. I will say, I think I don't think I cried during this episode. While it was moving, I feel like I was moved in a much more like, God damn, what a cool, like in an awestruck sort of way. I was just like, what a cool. Whereas with Hill House,
right,
and Bly Manor, it was much more of like a
gut punch.
Yeah, it was much more of like a melancholy.
See, when was the last time you watched it?
Last time I watched what?
This episode.
Couple days ago.
Yeah. Because while I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is really melancholy. Like, that's the word that I would use to describe
it is
the episode.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe not, probably not up to the level of Hill House, but...
Yeah, and Bly is like low-key the most melancholy of them all. Like, it barely is able to, like, pull itself out of its melancholy for a couple minutes.
Hill House has a real hopeful... attitude.
It's the hope that makes the lows in Hill House really hit. They really hit. Whereas with Bly, you never kind of really get picked up quite as high, so you're always kind of in this drudgery.
And this one neither, really. I mean, there's not really. There's some touching moments, but there's no like.
It's the interpersonal play in this that really excites the neurons inside me, and then I'm like, ooh, drama. It's just like Bev is such a bitch, and like the lines in the sand, the two kind of opposing factions in this get me going. It's like it gets me.
Well, before we get too far, we want to mention our sponsor for this episode and really for the series of after shows, nightchannels.com. Nightchannels.com features some of the best, most niche apparel for fans of horror, occult, metal, alternative music.
Unbelievable selection.
And even literature. It's a great selection, and honestly... We've had a lot of success with them. I think we have a really good relationship with nightchannels.com because all we have to ask you to do is just go to their website.
Because the shit sells itself so well. This speaks volumes. All we got to do is point you at the website, get you to open it up, and then Night Channels does the rest. That's how good this shit is.
Yeah. You'll find some shirt, some artwork that you haven't ever seen anywhere else.
Oh, all of it.
Yeah, all of it.
All of it.
And, you'll want at least like 4 shirts in your cart. And the good news is we have in the gospel, the good news of our relationship with Night Channels is we have a discount code. If you use HMT at checkout, you get 13% off, which is what I'm told the scariest percentage.
Certifiably the spoopiest. Yeah. Check out Night Channels. They bring you this episode. They bring you this series, and you won't be displeased if you take the Night Channels challenge. Just head on over to nightchannels.com. Just take a peek, and when you see something, HMT at checkout.
If you're not familiar with Horror Movie Talk, you should go to our website, horrormovietalk.com. There you'll find all our previous episodes and links to our social media. We have a very active Facebook group that you can be a part of. We just barely started up our Discord, and I still don't understand what that's supposed to do. And no one has shown me that it's... Everyone was clamoring to get on the Discord. They're like, where's the Discord? Where's the Discord? And I open up the Discord, and no one does anything on it.
Yeah.
They all signed up.
I think they want you to do things. I think they want you to dance, monkey dance.
You know what? I put my heart and soul into each episode.
Now you dance, bitch. Yes, you, with the headphones.
With the earbuds. Okay. We post new episodes of the regular podcast every Wednesday, so please subscribe. Leave us a rating if you can. If you have any comments, especially if you disagree with us or are mad at things that we say, these are the things that we love to hear on our voicemail.
Yeah.
And you can call it at 682-253-4468. We want a dialogue. I think there's misunderstanding sometime, and we don't want it to be a faceless
or if you call up and you tell us how we're wrong, a lot of times you'll just get us being like, oh yeah, we're stupid. Yeah, I get a lot in the voicemail. Just sounds like this.
David, it's not David. David, honestly, David, what is this?
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, no one.
David.
No one's upset.
Oh my God, is that David?
Oh my God, is that David? No one's upset with Bryce, really.
Yeah,
It's all me.
no one wants to talk to me.
No, it's just you're fine.
Right.
Like, I'm the problem.
If you really want to support the show, the best way you can do that directly is go to our Patreon, patreon.com/horrormovietalk, and we have a bunch of perks and extra bonus content and advanced access, ad-free stuff. All those things that you would normally get at Patreon, plus more. Go to patreon.com/horrormovietalk. Thanks for listening, and let's get into the sermon.
I'm so excited for the spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay.
David.
What?
So, yeah, I mean, it's a very emotional episode.
What?
While it's tied with all the violence.
What a way to end this fucking series, dude. I was like, how are they gonna tie it all together?
Yeah, what's the payoff?
What's the holy shit? This is like the Terminator 2 of endings.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so cool.
Yeah, because it goes full throttle.
Full throttle.
On the last episode, at the finale of the last episode with the bloodbath in the St. Patrick's Church. And you're like, how are they going to follow that up? But while also setting up the cliffhanger of like, oh shit, shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
And guess what? Shit goes down.
Big time.
Lots of shit. Big, heaping, steaming mounds of shit goes down.
Yeah, a lot.
But before we get into that, it's Millie and Father Pruitt awakening, because from the last episode, Father Pruitt got shot in the fucking head.
Yeah, he sure did. But then he was sitting there blinking.
Yeah, well, one eye was kind of blinking. The other one was. And then Millie recovers from being attacked by the angel.
Oh yes.
And they basically just like come to each other, phased, and like, well, shit. Oops.
Oh dear.
And then, and it cuts to the townspeople, like all the newly formed vampires just attacking the entire island. They're attacking every other islander that wasn't in the church and like pulling them out of their houses. And it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's just bloodlust is taking the newly achieved, newly resurrected vampires.
Yeah.
Dude, it's such a crazy concept of like, okay, so like, the normal Dracula, the normal vampire thing doesn't really delve too much into it basically says if the vampire wants to turn you, it does it in a certain way, and that's magical. Like, There's no answer. This puts the mechanics all of it together in a scientific way for us to kind of reason with it. It goes, you get the anemia, and then you die, and then you come back as a vampire, and you have the thirst for blood.
Yeah, it uses a lot of concepts from, I mean, I've seen some of these from other vampire stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily handled in like a scientific manner, but like getting turned by drinking the vampire's blood or the vampire offering their blood to turn you. That's a pretty common thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just dumb.
And I think one of the main features that's different for this one is that the original vampire is like a completely different creature. It's like a different species. Because the main angel, which is the source for all the vampirism, is like a fucking demon creature. You know?
It's got wings.
It's not like some guy
that
has pointy teeth.
That can turn into a bat. It's a man bat.
Yeah, which is an interesting take on the mythology of like, oh, they talk about a shapeshifter. You can turn into a bat. Well, actually, it's because it's just a bat,
Yeah.
Did anyone die?
No. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
And then you like all the people underneath him is kind of how the other vampires are treated throughout other series and TV or series and movies, which is they're kind of tied to the original vampire, the angel, and they're just people figuring out how to eat each other.
Yeah,
as one does.
Yeah. Well, this is God.
Right, it's an angel.
Yeah,
and I love in the if you watch it with subtitles on, it labels it angel, like the angel says something.
Holy shit! I mean, who's to say? Like, this is the coolest part of this thing is it doesn't really. I mean, it does. It says It says there's good and evil, and it kind of says that this is evil. I mean, the series, the theme is like this is evil, but also it's kind of like, is this how God comes to people? Like, I don't. It kind of leaves it a little open ended.
Yeah. So then we cut to the survivors regrouping. So out of the townspeople that are vampires and the people that are attacking, the ones that know what's going on are a select few. So we've got Aaron, we've got Sarah, the sheriff,
Sharif, as he likes to be called.
Right. Figured his name was Hassan, Sheriff Hassan.
Right.
Who else? Lisa and
his son.
No, his son is turned.
Yeah, but I think he knows what's going on, right?
Ali is the first one that was like turned.
Yeah, but
I'm talking about the people that are alive. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think he was.
Gotcha.
He's in that group. Like, he's not in the survivors figuring out how they're going to fuck over all the vampires.
Right.
And then Riley's brother, which I still don't know his name.
Right.
Played by a guy named Igby. I don't know what his name is. And I think that's it.
I mean, that's.
And Riley's mom.
No, because she gets turned.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. She hasn't been turned yet.
Okay.
She's one of them because she's the one that confronts Bev outside.
Right. Oh, the confrontation of Bev. This is my favorite part of the whole series. Maybe. They're so good. So many good parts.
So they have this survivors group, and they're gathering guns, and they're like, what the fuck is this going to do?
Yeah, what are we going to do?
They're just going to wake up, and Aaron says, well, it might buy us a few more minutes, a few more seconds, a few more minutes alive. And then I think it's Riley's mom, Annie.
Yeah.
That says, like, it's so strange. We all say that there's a heaven, but we claw and fight and beg for a few more minutes when it's our time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's frightening.
Yeah,
Death is terrifying.
It's the unknown.
Mm-hmm. And then Aaron basically reiterates that they're going to be dying for people that they haven't met yet. Their goal right now is to make it so that this can't get off the island.
Right. At this point, their responsibility is to everyone else in the world.
Yeah. So they're talking about how to fuck over the vampire. So they decide to burn all the boats eventually, and not at this moment, but they eventually burn all the boats, and then in the end burn the church and the rec center.
Right.
All
the buildings.
Well, Bev is the one that decides.
Bev allows the buildings to burn. Right. Yes. Yeah.
Well, the fire is started by Bev because while we're in the middle of the scene, a Molotov cocktail comes shooting through the window as they're like.
Did she throw that?
Yeah, it was Bev and Sturge or whoever.
Oh, that's perfect. That makes it perfect. See, I thought it was Sturge. But
I think she was telling Sturge to throw it.
Oh,
but they were standing out there together.
Either way, that makes it so perfect that she's the
impetus.
She is the mechanic that sets her own demise in motion.
Oh yeah, because eventually after like all the people leave and after Riley's mom is sucked. Sturge is like, hey, we should put out this fire. It's going to burn everything.
Bev's
It's like a tinderbox.
Nah.
And then Bev has like a realization. It's a great scene because like you see Bev realize like, wait, the church didn't burn in the big fire of 84.
Right.
Just everything on the west side.
Right.
She's like, well, that's where I want everyone to go. In my rec center. Where I can be their salvation.
Big enough for double the amount of people on the island.
And she quotes a bunch of Bible verses to justify, burning everything the fuck down.
There are plenty of Bible verses that justify burning things down.
Right.
Yeah.
And, she's the one that says Revelation. Like, in this, I mean, that's like a big moment in the episode is when she decides to burn the town down, she starts quoting from Revelations. So, yeah, before that moment happens, Annie Flynn comes outside and gives Bev a talking to.
Oh, I'm so glad we're at this part. I've been waiting ever since I saw this to talk about this part.
Yeah. And she says a lot of things to Bev, but everything that you would want to be said, which is, Bev, I need you to hear this. You aren't a good person.
You aren't a good person.
And, like...
You are not a good person. You think you are.
And then Bev comes back with, like, the bitchiest thing she can say, which is like, well, I mean, your dead son that was an addict and killed someone, I mean, that's a reflection on your parenting.
It's like, okay, and you think what you just said, that's the thing that would come out of a good person's mouth?
But, I mean, her reply is more infuriating because Annie says, yes, he is, all of them. And digging this point in is that God loves him just as much as he loves you. And why does that upset you?
Why does it hurt you so much to know that you're equal to everyone else?
Yeah.
You're not any better. You're just the same as everyone else. And that's the thing that you can't handle.
Yeah. Yeah, and and you see Bev struggling with that in her eyes, and that's probably one of the impetus for her, like, burning the whole town, because fuck it.
Yeah.
But then Annie pulls the power move and slits her own throat. And then Bev and Sturge leap on top of her. That's a great moment, too, where it's just like, yeah, Bev, like, you're not above anyone. You're going to drink this person's blood. How could you possibly justify that to yourself?
Yeah.
Like, you're above everyone else, but you're basically a monster,
Well, God works in mysterious ways,
And then one of the major revelations of the series that they wait until the very last episode, which I hope we haven't spoiled till this moment, is Father Paul / Pruitt talking to Mildred, and reveals that he's Sarah's father.
Right. The doctor's father.
And
that's why he always stared at her.
Yeah.
Not because she was a lesbian, although maybe because she was a lesbian too, but because he's her dad.
Right.
Man, huge.
Yeah. And it also explains some stuff that I was trying to counteract spoilers, because in episode 2, I think it is, like,
she's like,
Mildred
I saw your dad.
Yeah, I thought I saw your dad out the window, because it was the silhouette of the angel in the fedora and trench coat, which is what Monsignor Pruitt always wore.
Right.
So she said, like, I thought it was your father. And then when Father Paul comes in, she says, like, is that Monsignor Pruitt?
Right.
And her mom's like, and her daughter's like, no, silly.
You silly goose.
Idiot. And it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was actually Monsignor Pruitt.
So what do you know, Sarah? Well, Sarah, to be fair, how could she know? It was a secret kept from her.
Right. So that's a revelation, and Father Paul gives his rationale for bringing back this vampire, which was to save Mildred and Sarah, to give them everlasting life, basically.
Right.
So that they could have a second chance.
Right.
Because they had to live apart and he
in secret,
because it was a different time, and a lot of shame, and Mildred already had a husband. And so his rationale was like, we get a second chance.
What if Millie was just holding out? She's like, what if, okay. So, okay, no. What if she's mad, okay, at Father Paul, Monsignor Pruitt, at the end of this whole thing, so he's like, I did it. Like, what if he had accomplished his goal, his actual goal of like turning everyone, and then he's like, I did it. I gave you everlasting life. And now we can be a family. And she's like, I'm pissed, and you owe me so much in back child support. And then she took him to court, and he just had to pay a ton of like back child support to her. And that's how it ended.
Right. Or she just says like, look how gorgeous I am again. Like, I've got options.
Yeah. Like, if that Riley kid hadn't have burned up in that boat, I'd be all over those bones. Like, where's that big vampire at?
Yeah. Where's that big old meaty man Sturge?
Oh, Sturge.
Yeah, so I mean that's the motivation, which is great. You actually understand, like, because you see Father Paul or Monsignor Pruitt throughout this whole thing. It seems like he has pure motives. Like, there's not.
I mean, he does. Basically.
There's not really a self-serving. You don't see any self-serving in the sermons he does, or his rationale for bringing this on to the community.
Right.
It's only to help and only to advance God's will, basically. And that also seems kind of off, because why? If you're a good, purely motivated person, why would you bring this terror onto other people? Since it's pretty obvious that,
Well, I think this is a theme of I think this is a big theme of the series. I think you've like stumbled upon like one of the biggest themes of the series, which is the human mind will do anything to convince itself that a thing, a mechanic that could very well be objectively bad, if used in your hands, it's like this power thing. It's basically like an allegory for power. It's like, well, now I have power, and I won't let it corrupt me. Here I go, and then just inevitably, your hubris just fucks you. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's, I have power now. Surely I will use it for good, but you won't.
Yeah, and this is a great. This is like a really important moment in kind of cementing the theme, one of the main themes of the series, which is this talk between Father Paul and Mildred. Goes over a lot of important things. First it's a lot of Father Paul, whatever. This is so confusing here. Let's just say Father Paul.
Okay. We made that decision at the end of the series.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, we couldn't have made it any other way.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So Father Paul just expresses all this regret, and that he wants a second chance, and that's the miracle, that he can have a second chance. And Millie's response to it is that we made our choices. And Sarah's grown up, and we're fading away. That's
the natural order.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be over.
Right.
And, especially coming from two people that both were very near death just a month ago,
Yeah.
So I guess, what would it be? So Ash Wednesday, I think that begins Lent, which is 40 days before Easter. So this whole thing basically takes place over the course of 2 months.
Yeah.
And so, she doesn't have any regrets. She has regrets, but she doesn't have any feelings that she needs a second chance, that she made her choices and she had a life.
Right. No.
And that's okay.
Right. No regrets.
Right. No regrets. So Bev starts burning the city.
Or allow, just by her lack of action, she's like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, her action, because they threw the Molotov cocktails in there.
Sure, yeah. And then, but he's like, we should put this out. And she's like, I mean,
No.
it could chase them out like little rats.
Yeah, let it burn.
Then we could get them. We can get them and eat them up.
Yeah. And then it goes back to the survivors, and it establishes this really melancholy tone. It's like kind of that tone you get in post-apocalyptic shows.
Like the end is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah, and they're just like, well, I hope that the kids made it to the boat. And they're like, well, we'll probably never know, but we can hope it.
Yeah.
You know, we hope that they survived. Let's see. Lisa and Riley's brother are separated from Aaron, Sarah, and the sheriff. And so Lisa and Riley's brother are trying to make it to the canoe to canoe off the island to protect themselves, because they're told to, protect themselves. And while they're going, Lisa's parents are calling for her. And that's like a lot of the death in here is done by, parents to their children or children to their parents.
Right.
Like, how would that feel to you if your parents were like calling your name and it's because they wanted to murder you?
It's it's all part and parcel with one of these tiny communities, it's a little bit incestuous.
Right.
It's, and man, when that turns, when that switch flips, I know what that's like, actually, like it feels horrible. It feels really weird and terrible, Yeah. And, it's like, come back to the misery. Come on back. It'll be fine. The water's fine. Your parents are going to be all right, kids.
We want to turn you to us against your will, which is, that's really kind of the message of parenting, isn't it? You want to turn your kids into you against their will.
Whoa. Deep shit. That's no lie. Oh dear.
So as they're going, Lisa and the boy, unnamed,
come here, boy.
I don't think we ever learned his name in the series. I'll just go with that. They come across the vampire/angel feeding to set up the fact that she fires the rifle at it a couple times and it's completely unfazed.
Bev does. Oh no, Lisa does.
Lisa does. And so that's like the setup of when the angel is feeding, like, it's like, just wants you to leave it alone.
It's just a do not disturb sign on that angel.
Which comes in later when Aaron cuts up its wings.
Yeah. As
it's feeding on her. And that moment where the vampire's like, are you fucking cutting up my wings? And then she's takes his head.
Come here.
Come here, baby.
It's all going to be okay. And that's such a great, metaphor for men and women, kind of like.
Yeah.
It's like, I would, if I were in an intimate way with a woman and I were being distracted by something.
Yeah, if a woman had a knife in one hand while I was like sucking on her neck, like, I would not notice.
Okay. I'm okay with this. Yeah. Slight cost-benefit analysis, forgotten.
Yeah. I don't want to hurt our chances for getting an interview with Mike Flanagan, but I'll say a little part of me is a little jealous of that angel,
Yeah. Yeah. She is a stunning woman.
Yeah.
And a wonderful actress. And a radiant light of beauty and hope for the human race.
Yes.
And I have nothing but respect and admiration for her and Mike Flan. Mm-hmm. But also maybe a little more for her.
Mm-hmm. So let's see.
The Flan Man.
What's his name? groundskeeper Willie is like, Dawn's a-coming. Better get going.
This part where Sturge is like, where this guy approaches Bev, and she's like, okay, everybody, we need to get inside. The light's gonna hurt you, so just this follow me. And this guy comes up and he's like, I think I murdered my kids and my wife. What's happening? And she's like, well, what the fuck? How did you get in on this? You've never been to church. And then Sturge comes forth and he's like, well,
he's always been nice to me.
He was always nice to me. So I made sure he took the sacrament, and
Bev's like,
turned.
No.
And
turns him away. And so before that point, there's kind of like a standoff between Bev and Father Paul, where Father Paul at this point realizes, like, we were wrong. This is very bad.
Yeah.
We're the wolves.
Yeah.
Like this, we're monsters. Like, this was a bad idea. And Bev was like, no, but we're going to lead them. And then she's like, oh, maybe you're not called to be the leader. Maybe you're my test. You're my last test.
Here's my power grab moment. And the other thing that never stops shocking me about this series is Sturge's character, groundskeeper Willie. He is such the ultimate beta, like just a total pushover no matter what. Even when finally, he made an executive decision with his buddy there.
Right.
He was like, no, this guy's nice. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve to die. He should come with us. Even after he made that decision. And she's like, no, this guy never went to church. He never believed in God. Oh, okay. So you got to take the communion seriously because you must have been baptized, huh? But that's not enough for old Bev's interest.
Right.
Like, you don't get to go. And then, like, this is the moment where I was like, okay, Sturge, this is where you flip the switch. Right. This is the moment. And he takes a good 2 Mississippi, and then he just kind of dejectedly goes, okay, buddy, maybe you just go watch the sunrise. It'll be real pretty, I promise. And it's like, God damn, you can't just stand up one time.
Yeah. Ugh. Father Paul's response is that, to welcome the guy into the church, because he says, all have to be welcome or this isn't God's house. And as he walks in, he sees his daughter pouring gasoline all over the church, and his response is, good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, good.
Yeah.
And then he tells her that he's her father, and they have, like, a 2 Mississippi before she gets shot by Sturge. And that's like... there stands Sturge, just like with this total, like, what? She's gonna burn it down. Mm-hmm. It's like just this dumb, like, even when he does stuff wrong, right, he's still just dumb. Right.
God damn it.
And then so Father Paul kind of attacks him and then gives up and walks back in and tries to save Sarah by giving her his blood, but she won't swallow it. She spits it out.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's so sad because he did this so he could have that time with her.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason, and it fell apart. He failed and just realized that it was a huge mistake what he did.
Even the best made plans of mice and men.
And so Millie says that, there's this bridge that she liked as a kid, so they start just walking away, to their doom.
Yeah.
More or less.
Doom!
And Bev is like, well, good riddance, and then turns around and sees Sheriff Hassan pouring gasoline all over the church. It's like, fuck!
God damn it!
And, and then she, like, her true colors come out. Like, the true racism really shine in this moment, because she's, like, just out and out calls him a terrorist. And then he says something to the effect of, like, you can't shoot me. You need to eat me, And she's like, no, it's bad blood.
You got dirty blood.
Ugh. Like, you. Oh, wow.
You fucking bitch. Dude, like.
And that was the greatest response from the sheriff, was just like, wow. Which is the perfect response for that. Is like, Are you serious? You're killing me, and you're... All right.
Okay. Fine.
Aaron is about to light the rec center on fire and then gets attacked by the angel, and she cuts his wings. And so it's Ali that actually lights the rec center on fire, which is an interesting turning point, because he also realizes, like, this isn't good.
Right about here, I started getting this, like, okay, there's a lot of lines being drawn in the sand in this episode. There's those who've turned, there's those who hadn't, there's the Catholics, there's the Muslims, right? This is another distinct...
Yeah, you're making a big deal about this throughout the last couple episodes, and I don't see it as that.
The last episode in this one. I mean, look, there's the religion that everyone takes to there's that is the very popular choice on this island, and then there's the one that's the minority, and all I'm saying is one of them didn't cause any problems in this situation, and I don't know if that's by design or if it's a commentary, but it's an interesting binary that's set up, and I like that it makes you go,
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think Flanagan's intention was to say the Muslims are right and Christians are wrong. It was more to say people can get caught up in religious fervor and make other people others, even though technically they're worshiping God, the same God, just in different ways.
Right.
So, not having any aspect. So, like, the important aspect is that the Bev thinks that she's better because she's right.
Right. And
her intentions around that to not understand and divide is what's wrong. It's not necessarily like...
What if at some point we get to talk to Big Daddy Flan and he's like, no, it's definitely the Muslim religion is superior.
You didn't know I was Muslim? No, this was funded by my imam.
Flanagan is a stage name. It's a pseudonym.
Oh, someone named Flanagan can't be Muslim? All right.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're gonna go the Cat Stevens route, I don't think Muhammad Ali was named Muhammad Ali originally.
Yeah,
you rename, right?
Sure. I don't know if that's required or not. I don't know enough about the religion to know.
Neither
if
do
that's
I.
required.
Yeah, hit us up, call us, let us know if that's the true.
But there's a great moment where Hassan, as he's already been shot, and the rec center and church are on fire, and Bev is realizing that she's ultimately fucked. Like, every place on the island that they could hide is being burned up right now. Then Sheriff Hassan turns to her and says, "There's a quote from the Bible that comes to mind."
Yeah.
Which is, as it's starting to
dawn
is starting to
Isn't it the light
appear.
will purify or something?
No, he says, he makes the sun rise on the evil and the good. That sticks a, spear right into Bev, so she shoots him again. So then, now just everyone's going to die. At this point, the vampires are going to die. All the people on the island that aren't vampires are probably already dead by now. And of the survivors, quote unquote, there's only two people that are surviving, which is Lisa and Riley's brother.
Out.
And they're already on the ocean.
Out in the boat.
Like, Sheriff got shot to shit. Erin's getting her blood sucked. Sarah got shot in the heart. Yeah. She's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's dead. And everyone's going to die the second, the sun comes up. And it's a really beautiful moment. So the other huge moment is while Erin is getting sucked, she flashes to Riley. I think it's while that happens. It flashes to her having a conversation with Riley on the couch back when they were talking about death. And this is kind of a dream sequence or a vision sequence. And she's giving her thoughts on death and talking about her experience basically as she's dying. And I think, again, this is kind of the thesis statement for Mike Flanagan and what he wants to say about death, which is, you know, it's not about self. That, you know, as she's dying, she's not thinking about the experience or worrying. She's just too busy remembering. And she remembers basically her place in the universe, that there is no me, there never was. I remember I'm energy, not memory, not self, and I'm returning to the cosmos, basically.
It's beautiful.
Which is not doing it service to what the actual monologue is, but this was the part in the show that I was crying. I don't know why it hit me so hard, but it was just...
I'll tell... Can I speculate?
Sure.
Onto why it hit you so hard? So, we've known each other a long time. Actually, I was thinking about how long we've known each other today. I think we've been doing the show for longer than we were employed together. Or at least about the same amount of time.
Yeah,
In
probably.
any event, you're kind of an interesting dichotomy of a guy, right? Because you're very religious.
Because you're an asshole. But...
No. Because you're very religious, but you're also you also have a strong streak of what do you call it? I can't think of the word.
Irrationality?
No. Where everything is meaning
nihilist.
You also have a strong nihilism streak, right? Yeah. And so you're constantly in your head trying to rationalize that there is nothing and there is no ultimate purpose. But there is also like this strong hope in you that there is.
Yeah.
But you rationally can't. You rationally default to there is none. But this is the way. This is the fight that proves that there is that the meaning is within the being. You know, that the being is the beautiful part, and that's what gives everything meaning. You know.
Sure. Yeah. I think like when it comes to faith, so Norm Macdonald just died, like just this last week.
So sad.
And he was my absolute favorite comedian. I had posted the day before that he died on our Facebook group a clip that he did at an award show that I found
he's definitely your
hilarious.
Hero. He's your hero. And
I said, like, another video for my case for greatest living comedian, and then the next day he died. And but when he was asked about faith, because he believed in God, and one of the things he said was that people mistake it. They think it's about believing, and it's not about believing or knowing. It's like, that's not what faith is about. It's about hoping, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it can lie, you know? I mean, you have I can contain two thoughts in my head at the same time.
Sure.
Like, I hope that there's a God and everything I was taught was true, and that after this life I'm reunited with people I love. But also it could not be true, in which case, what's the point? Like, it's all like nothing that I think matters. And that's
the beauty of this speech, is that it posits that the being is the meaning, that's enough. And that's and the time you get to spend with people, the relationships that you build, the fact that you're here at all is more than enough.
Right.
Is way more than enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe the better way of saying it is it's not meaningless, it's insignificant. Like, it's in the greater of all, you know, reality, because she's talking about how it's like a drop of water falling back into the ocean, and that we're, you know, our concept of self and the meaning we put into our lives, like, we're barely existing. It's like, physically, like, it's all just neurons firing, and even like our matter is mostly space. You know, it's just energy vibrating at a slower frequency, and that there's a line where it's, we are the cosmos dreaming of itself, which is
beautiful,
awesome. And then she talks about how that return, or that energy throughout the universe that we're a part of, like, that's the one. That's
God.
That's not us being separate from each other. It's God. You know, that's a concept of what God is. And
yeah,
and then she says,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then there's another line she says, I am that I am, which is kind of a very biblical phrase.
And there's
basically saying that we are God.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's, you mentioned something earlier that really sticks with me, or, like a droplet of water into the ocean. Mm-hmm. And that's so insignificant. The purpose of that statement is to put a point on how insignificant we are. But
it's also
the ocean is not complete without that drop. Everything is part of something, and the scale of everything is infinite.
Right.
Because without that drop, there's a drop of water missing, and within that drop, there's infinitesimal series of scales that go down into quantum and beyond that are missing from this bigger unit, and beyond that, it's all just who's to put the weight on the size of the thing. Yeah. Why does the weight matter?
Right.
Why does the size of the thing matter?
Right. But I mean, the whole point is, like, that's the thing about confronting death is making these realizations of, like, what does that mean? Sorry, I'm going to get teary. Like, I had that realization with my dad. My dad died, year and a half ago now, feels like.
Yeah.
I should probably know the date.
It was in June of 2020.
Yeah. So just thinking about that, like, what does that mean? What did his life mean? What did he mean, to me? What does that mean that he doesn't exist anymore? And, like, you can't really understand death until you really experience it on a very personal level.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the most personal is when it happens to yourself, and then there's going to be some revelations. Book VII. Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, it's really weighty stuff. And I want to take a step back right now and point out that we're talking about these super metaphysical concepts and these deep philosophical questions in a story about vampires.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's why I love this series, because it's so ridiculous that you can get this much out of, like, a subgenre or a monster type or a trope that feels like it's done to shit so many times before.
Good. Well, this is the thing. If you're good, you can take an earnest movie, you know? Earnest, scared, stupid.
Right.
And you can fit the meaning of life into it.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
Not saying that the earnest movie manages to do that, but if you're Mike Flanagan and you're directing and writing an earnest movie, well, maybe. And I mean, all good art does this shit.
Yeah.
This is the definition of what good art does. It's more than what it is, It somehow manages to be more than the sum of its parts. And we often forget with video media that it's not just entertainment if it's done well. It's somehow more than that. It's hard to put into words unless you're given something as impressively weighty as this, and then it really kind of stands up and it has legs, and you go, Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of like illusions in cinema that it's also dreamlike. I mean, it's like you're watching this this fraud, basically, these flickering pictures that makes you think that they're moving or that something is actually happening in front of you. And like, it's very dreamlike, and it's almost like great filmmakers recognize that and also realize how that reflects life itself.
Yeah.
So, anyways, didn't mean to.
No, I think that's very. I think anybody who is struck by this will definitely who is struck by the show, I should say, will definitely have something to relate to what you just said.
Yeah, and I really love it, and I know that there will be people that it hits really strongly, and I also know that there will be people that will be like, "Well, this is shit." Like,
yeah, it's inevitable.
Doesn't mean anything to them, or they just don't like it.
Yeah,
what it is, and that's the thing with art. So the end of the series and the episode, we're left with a bunch of vignettes of what happens to everyone, set to "Near My God to Thee," as everyone's singing, this hymn, which is a beautiful hymn. It's one of my favorites, and they're basically all accepting that they're going to die in a couple minutes with the sun rising.
This part is so powerful.
Yeah.
This just cadre of people standing up waiting for a beautiful thing like the sunrise that any other day. They've seen this every day of their life, Yeah. And now they're together, and it means their death.
Yeah.
By no fault of their own, just by following their faith. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's strange and incredible.
Yeah. We're shown Hassan and Ali praying on the shore, praying towards Mecca. And so, Ali, is finally makes amends with his father, more or less, and it shows Hassan crumpling over, dying, and then, Ali burning up in the sun as it comes up. It shows Father Pruitt.
The best part is that Bev is 10 feet away from them.
Right. She's
freaking the fuck out.
Right. Yeah, the best, I mean, that's the best thing of the series. That it shows everyone coming to terms. Like, most of the townspeople are singing together, in the town square, like accepting what's going to happen to them. Then there's Ali and Hassan praying in their final moments. There's Father Pruitt and Millie holding Sarah.
Yeah.
And then another great one, I think it's before this moment, but Lisa praying for her parents as they leave the island.
Yeah.
So all these little vignettes, in contrast with Bev, as it looks like she's accepting her fate, that she's like trying to say like, yes, I'm coming, I'm going to have dignity, but in the end, she crumples and she desperately is trying to dig a hole to crawl into, which is such a great metaphor for
I love
that type of person.
Dig yourself a grave. Go ahead, crawl down lower than you are. Get into the dirt.
Right.
Try and get away from the light somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I see.
She's trying to get away from the light.
That's like the metaphor I see for this type of person, where it's like the facade is that they're put together and they're confident with who they are and what their life decisions are.
No, who they am.
And the reality is they're terrified.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of everyone and everything.
Of being seen.
Yeah. Or being known as who they know they are deep down, which is just dark, evil people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
I didn't go missing.
Or worse, just blind, That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's
just desperation, just blind desperation is the other thing. So then it ends with, not super hopeful, but the last two survivors is Lisa and Riley's brother. to be named at a later point. They're on the boat, and ash is raining down. And then the last line is, "I can't feel my legs."
Yeah.
What a real hopeful moment. I mean, but it just shows.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
That
That
means
means
that
that things have returned
right.
to the way they were. And I think that signals that the Papa Vamp, the angel, died.
Yeah.
I think
so.
that's what that signals is that, as it was flying away, it died.
Right.
Because all the effects that its blood had that were within you went away suddenly.
Yeah. So that's the episode. That's the show. If you want to like get our full kind of synopsis and review and like our like feelings about the entire series, go back to episode 0 where we give our review. It'll be spoiler free. I mean,
yeah, we're actually going to record that next.
Yeah.
So that will be kind of the capstone of this. It also we will have used it as the kind of hype promo aspect.
So thanks for listening, especially if you got all the way to the end here. We do episodes like this, on the regular podcast too, talking about horror movies. And if you like Mike Flanagan, you like horror movies, you'll like a lot of the movies that we review on the regular podcast. So please subscribe.
Let me just say thank you to anyone who stuck this series out with us. We had so much fun covering it. And we really, really hope that you stick around and listen to our normal shows because we enjoy doing this more than you can possibly imagine. And we love growing our community. And you're perfectly welcome to join us on all social media, and particularly on Facebook. We have a fabulous Facebook group of nice, kind people that just want to talk about horror movies, and we keep it as ad-free as we possibly can, and there's not a bunch of spam and bullshit on there. So,
also, if you like this after show, please share it with a friend. It's basically the only way we get word out to a meaningful extent. Special thanks to
Night Channels,
people that help us all the time, mainly our sponsors, nightchannels.com. Go there to buy your apparel with a 13% discount using HMT at checkout. And also, as always, we want to thank Dustin Goebel, our resident artist, who does our cover art for every episode of our podcast. And he takes commissions from anyone. You can contact him on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. So if you have anything to say, call our number at 682-253-4468. And we'll see you
on the flippity flop.
Yeah, I hope we see you again.
Thank you so much again.
Also, I should mention, if you like Mike Flanagan's work, we have after shows for both Hill House and Bly Manor. I don't think we really even mentioned that.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah.
In the same feed that you're listening to this on. So just scroll down in your podcast player and you'll find those series. Right
or
there.
it'd be even easier if you go to horror movie talk. That's our name, right?
Yeah.
horrormovietalk.com. And then there's in the menu, there's a menu item for after shows, and they'll have all of them there. So thanks for joining us. We really enjoyed doing this and hope to do it again.
Go with Flanagan.
Go with Flanagan. Bye-bye.